Hello and welcome to Truth Xpose TV. My name is Aldwyn Altuney, your host of this show, and we have a very special guest today coming to us live from Brisbane, Australia, and her name is Kyah O'Connor. She's a fantastic woman who's going to teach us all about how to lead a balanced life and align your mind, body and spirit. Now, Kyah is the owner and founder of Everything in Balance, which is a holistic wellness business. She's also a mother, a wellness advisor, a holistic health coach, a yoga teacher, a speaker, a vedic meditator, and a creative writer. Now, Kyah specialises in breathwork, yoga, essential oils, nourishing through food, and shifting mindset through conscious living and practice. And really, it's all about having a balanced life today, and we know how busy life can get sometimes. So this is a really hot topic, and I can't wait to hear what Kyah has to say. And I love that her vein of everything she does is she says there must be love. Hello and welcome, Kyah.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. And I love that there must be love. That's a beautiful saying. And all you need is love, really, at the end of the day. And there was a great song about that once upon a time. All you need is love. Right. And so really, you know, this is a hot topic, really, how to have everything in balance, and particularly nowadays where life seems to be just speeding up for most people. So how did you initially start your business, Everything in Balance, and come to be an expert in this topic?
I think it's a work in progress. Firstly, Aldwyn, because I'm constantly working at keeping my life really balanced. But how I come to this, and I guess how my business was born, is when I first became a mother a little over 5 years ago. I was just trying so hard to be perfect. So I was trying to be a perfect mother, perfect wife, perfect friend, perfect cook, perfect yoga teacher, and the list goes on. And what I realized was you can't be perfect at everything all the time. But what you can strive towards is strike a balance of being all those things. So being a whole person when it comes to being a whole mother and a whole wife and a whole yoga teacher, a whole person. And so I really looked at something. I went on a journey, I guess you could say, to discover what it really meant or means to have a balanced life. And so what I realized was, or is, it's not about being 100% all one way. So not doing 100% veganism or 100%, 7 days boot camp, or, being the perfect cook, making these nourishing meals from start to finish every single day, 365 days a year. It's about doing everything in whole, if that makes sense. So striking a balance between all things. And what it really comes down to is you have to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and get a balance of all of those things in order for the whole picture to make that work. So that's how it was born for me.
Yes, perfection. Now that's an interesting concept, and they say don't let perfection get in the way of progress. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I've certainly been a perfectionist for a lot of my life, and I've had to let go of being a perfectionist just to get things done, because you can really, stop things by this whole thing of analysis, or paralysis by analysis is another saying. And very, very good point there. And I guess, a lot of pressures on people who are mothers and who are also working. It's really tough, I can imagine. I'm not actually personally a mother. I have a cat, and my cat keeps me fairly busy. So I can just imagine what kids would be like. So how did you come to coping with all those pressures?
At the vein of it all, when it really comes down to me being kind to myself, and it was a really long, beautiful journey, but also quite a flawed journey as well, because there was lots of confronting moments where I really had to face myself and take a deep, and even sometimes a hard look at myself and think, hang on a minute, who are you really? And with regards to all these expectations that I was putting on myself, there was no element of kindness or self-love around it. So it was unrealistic expectations, and I was never going to meet those expectations. So I come to a point where I realized it's all about looking at yourself, or looking at myself, and thinking, well, who am I really? At the core, at the vein of who I am, who am I? What makes Kyah's heart pump, and what makes me light up and feel like I'm just, you know, in my power, so to speak. And what it comes down to is I learned how to be kind to myself, to be okay with not doing something perfectly by way of the expectations that I'd put on myself, but just allowing it to be and seeing the beauty in what it really was. And when I was able to look at it that way and see it from that perspective, something lifted, something really beautiful and ever so powerful lifted and opened up. And I was able to really appreciate what was in front of me. You know, my children rather, these magical beings that I've created, I was able to see them perhaps even for the very first time with these new eyes of this deep love and connection to myself, and to see these beautiful beings that I've created in the most wondrous of ways. You know, to look at my husband through different eyes, to look at my friends, like everything, what I'm saying, or when everything in my life just appeared differently. And there was ease and grace, and it just flowed a lot easier from being kind to myself.
Kind. So really there's self-love there, isn't there, in kindness? There's compassion.
Yeah.
What else makes up kindness for you?
So yeah, self-love, compassion, finding grace in things, you know, being grateful, like just even if it's for the most smallest and menial of things, you know, even on those days where sometimes you feel a little bit deflated or overwhelmed by life, you know, having a human experience. So that happens quite a bit. Just in that moment, being able to, you know, be still in that moment and be okay with whatever presents. So, yeah, being kind is that, opening your eyes and just being grateful for even the little things, the menial things, like the roof over your head, the food that you have to eat, the use of all of your limbs and your vision and your hearing, etc. So just taking it really back to the basics, you know, of what it means to be human. And then if you can look outside of that on those days where you feel a little bit more uplifted and a little bit lighter and a little bit more truer to yourself and your real power, then you can look at it far greater than that. What I'm saying is it just keeps evolving. It keeps evolving and changing form. But the most important part is to not attach to it, just to surrender to whatever it is and just let it flow.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. That's beautiful. And of course you do practice yoga, and yoga is a lot about mindfulness as well. So how important is your yoga practice, and how long have you been doing that for?
So I started practicing about 10 years ago, and I became a teacher nearing 8 years ago now. And I really am passionate about the practice of yoga, and deeply passionate about it because of what it's personally done for me, and also for my students that I teach, and just the philosophies that vein into the ancient practice of yoga. So yoga is about mind-body connection, and it literally means or translates to the union of mind-body. So it's mind-body-spirit connection and alignment. And so through the movement of your body and the movement of energy throughout your body, you're really able to bring a great sense of awareness, like conscious awareness to your mental thought patterns, even your mindfulness or lack thereof, depending on where you're at. So yoga is a really, really important, even vital, I would go as far to say, tool to get that mind-body connection. Because you'll find, Aldwyn, I mean, generally speaking, this is a huge generalization, but not an uncommon one, that a lot of people, when asked, you know, I talk to clients and ask them, do you meditate? Have you ever meditated? And they say, oh, you know, I've tried, but I just can't do it. I mean, the point to mention is, firstly, meditation and yoga, for instance, they're not meditation and yoga perfection. It's a meditation and yoga practice. And so it's constantly, again, evolving. But with regards to all of that, it's bringing your conscious awareness to your present mindset and being really aware of your thought processes and how they're affecting you, even in your physicality. So yeah, mind-body connection is really super important, and as I said, even vital to mind, body, and spirit alignment and connection.
And yoga's been practiced for a long time, hasn't it? Do you know much about the history of yoga?
Well, I know a fair bit about the history of yoga and the lineage of where it comes from. How deep do you want me to go here? Oh, but I mean, for me, you know, when clients ask me about that, I find that most of the clients that I work with don't have, I mean, they've done a little bit of a practice of yoga or movement of body or by some kind of fitness, but they're more interested in just sort of the basics of how the energy flows through your body as you're performing the yoga. So by way of the history of yoga, I mean, it started centuries ago. There's a number of different gurus, and there's different types of yoga styles, if you would. I mean, there's Kundalini, there's Ashtanga, there's Yin yoga now, there's like Vinyasa, there's Bikram yoga. There's all different types of styles. And even, I mean, I've got 2 children, and so even my daughters, us as human beings, we have this innate ability to know yoga postures anyhow. Like I watch my children, when I teach my children yoga and they move their bodies, they just know the postures already. It's innate. And so, as I said, yoga comes from a long history and lineage from, you know, centuries old. But really, as human beings, we innately know yoga. So if, you know, it's about tapping into your body and listening to your body innately on an intuitive level, if you would, and just going with the flow of how that feels. So let me just say that the history of yoga has started since the beginning of human time. Because,
right.
Yeah, that's what I like to say, because, you know, we all know on an innate level how to do yoga. It's just that we've never really labeled it until those gurus and those teachers have labeled it as that.
Yeah, it's very much linked to Indian culture, isn't it, nowadays?
It is.
The way we know yoga. However, when I look at my cat stretch, for example, and the cat stretch is one of the yoga moves, isn't it?
Yes, cat.
The cat just naturally does its little stretch, you know, and I just know when I wake up and I stretch first thing in the morning, it just gets me ready, because, you know, often I think the older you get too, sometimes you have aches and pains in your body waking up.
Of course.
So just stretching first thing in the morning and taking deep breaths, you know, that could be the very start of it even, couldn't it?
Well, that's another thing, Aldwyn, and you've touched on a really good point there with regards to just the breath. You know, a lot of the time, unless you're consciously aware of how you're breathing, a lot of the time we breathe into our chest. So you take a breath and it's mainly chest breathing, you know, but there's such value on a physiological level, on a mental level, emotional level, in taking just those deep breaths. You know, I'm talking deep tummy breaths, as I like to call them, where you take a deep breath and you bring it right to the depths of your belly, getting right into the lower lobes of your lungs, into your diaphragm. And it's like expanding a balloon, blowing up a balloon. You know, how good do you feel even when you just take that deep breath? As you said in the morning, you just take that deep breath, filling up your lungs, you know, because it's life force, it's prana, it's a life force energy, inhaling that oxygen. And even though, you know, on a day-to-day basis, every second of every day, we breathe, because human beings, we don't breathe and we don't survive. So even though it's an automatic response, physiological response to breathe, a lot of the time we as people don't know how to breathe correctly, as in to take deep breaths, you know, to feed all of our cells and to nourish our body with regards to the breath. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, good point, Aldwyn.
Well, it's something people often aren't conscious of, how they breathe. You know, we just breathe, and that's how we do life. But we don't often think about taking those deep breaths into the diaphragm. And being great at yoga and these breathing techniques, and there's many breathing techniques in yoga too. I know, so I do some yoga myself.
Right.
So I know, and I love it. I love it as a way to de-stress and just to get away from everything and have some time to just connect with me. Really, it is connecting to self, and it's honoring your body. In fact, I've gone into a yoga class and I've been sick going into the yoga class. I've had a flu and I've come out and I've felt no flu symptoms after 1 hour of yoga.
Yeah.
That's what yoga's done for me in the past. So it's amazing, you know, and I don't know whether I breathed out the flu. I'm not sure. Breathed and stretched it out.
Sure. Well, in short, you know, to simplify it, you're basically massaging all your internal organs, you're cleansing your body systems, you're detoxifying your body, you're purifying your blood, which is perhaps the reason why you would have felt so invigorated afterwards. And also, you know, a lot of the time if you go and practice a yoga class and you're not feeling 100%, it can either help you to recover from it will help you to feel really, really great soon after, or it may take a couple of days, but I can guarantee that you'll get over it a lot quicker if you're moving the body than if you're just staying in bed, lying in bed and feeling woeful, awful. If you're getting up and moving your body, there's a great thing around that, releasing endorphins, and with regards to the movement of yoga, as I said, you're cleansing your body system sequentially, massaging all your internal organs, squeezing them out almost, like wringing them out of all of those toxins and ailments that present.
Yes, very, very important. So we've talked about being kind to ourselves and also doing yoga as ways to have a balanced life, which is what we're talking about here today. And we're talking about how to also do it through mind, body and spirit alignment, which of course yoga is fantastic for that. Yep. What are some other ways that people can lead a balanced life?
Well, it's nourishing your body through good food choices. So when I say through good food choices, that's personal to you. So everyone is different, Aldwyn. Every body is different. Every mind is different. Every person is different. We're all individually and beautifully made. So the point in that is, when I say nourishing through good food choices, it's good food choices rather for you. And for me, what might work for me may not work for you and the person next to you, and so on and so forth. So I'm a really big believer and advocate around eating whole foods, eating organic wherever possible, if not at all times, and really being conscious about what it is you put into your mouth, because food for me is as important as the air that you breathe. Because if you think about it, the food that you're eating also has to process through your body's systems. And so the cleaner it is, so to speak, the better it is for you. Having said that, I'm also really big on the connection with food. So when you have a meal, it should be a beautiful thing. So I'm also a fan of having a glass of wine with a really good meal, and I love cooking. And so, I'll cook a really beautiful meal that pops with lots of color and lots of nourishment. I look at it and I just get really excited and feel uplifted by what I've created. And then I think, oh, tonight, you know what? I feel like a glass of wine, because I love wine. I'm really great appreciator of wine, and that for me is the perfect balance. I've got a nourishing meal in front of me that I've enjoyed thoroughly cooking. I'm having a connection, say if it's a meal with my family or close friends or even strangers that I've just met, but just that interaction in itself is just as equally as important as the food that you're eating. So that's another way to strike balance and to live holistically, if you would, through nourishing your body personally through good food choices. And that may mean, as I said, a glass of wine, maybe 2 glasses, that's okay. But as long as you enjoy that connection and having that meal and sharing that moment, that is equally as important, if not even more important than what you're putting in your mouth.
Yeah. A red wine, they say a little bit of red wine is good for you, particularly if it's preservative free, or you can get organic wines as well, which are great. So, that's the thing, is that there are a lot of chemicals and additives often with wine and alcohol nowadays. I believe tequila is very good as well. Tequila has a lot of healing properties.
So I've heard, Aldwyn, but we'll leave that one where it's at, because I don't know too much about the medicinal benefits around tequila, although in my time I have had a fair bit of tequila, not so much in the last 10 years, but definitely previous to that. I can talk about the effects of that. If I dig back to the memory banks, I can talk about the effects of that, but I haven't actually felt that for about 10 years, I'm glad to say. So
yeah, well, I was shocked when I looked up tequila health benefits, and there's actually a whole lot of benefits, for those that want to Google that, benefits of tequila.
Well, I know that agave syrup, and again, whatever your take is on agave syrup, I'll let that be everyone's choice, but I know that agave comes from tequila, or the same sort of plant. These are my daughters, Aldwyn. So I just popped in. My eldest daughter just come back from school. Hi, darling.
Hello. So who have we got here? Let's introduce them.
Sure. So this is Evie.
Hello, Evie.
This is my little one. So hi, Aldwyn.
Hello.
And this is Rio.
Hello,
and this is Rio, my big one, who's just started school this year.
Oh, gorgeous. And they're both beautiful names too, and beautiful girls.
Thank you very much. Well, of course, it's mother's bias, but I do believe it wholeheartedly. Okay.
Yeah, they're adorable. They look very well behaved too, by the look of it. So
well, do you know what I like to say, Aldwyn? My girls are never misbehaved. They're always highly spirited. I have very highly spirited girls.
Well, you're very highly spirited, so I guess like mother, like daughters.
Well, they say that, right? They say that. Yeah, they say that, and I'm definitely one to say I totally wholeheartedly agree with that. I have to say, I'll own that one.
Yeah, awesome. So as a mother, now how do you keep everything in balance as a mother? I guess juggling, juggling being a mum of 2 small kids, and with your business and everything. So what are some day-to-day things that you do to keep things in balance at home?
So I try to meditate daily. So I make that part of my my daily list of things that I really don't compromise on. So I try to do that daily, even if it's just about 5 minutes. If I can do it for 5 minutes, it's a good thing. Although in the last week I haven't done much of it, to be really honest, Aldwyn, because sometimes life gets like that. So again, that's just another way of me practicing. I've got to be kind to myself because I have these expectations that I want to meditate every single day, and I haven't done so for, as I said, nearing a week. So I've had to really look at that and be present to what was going on around that and go, okay, Kyah, that's okay. Inhale, exhale, let that one go. Just be kind to yourself. It's okay. Ebbs and flows, you'll pick it up soon again. So, but on a general front, when I try to meditate daily, as I said, even if it's for, preferably for 20 minutes. If I can't do 20 minutes, it might be a bit of tactical meditation. So it might be 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, but definitely equating to about 20 minutes to half an hour a day. I try to do that morning and afternoon. And I also try to do, or I make it so that every night before I put my kids to bed, my husband travels quite a lot, so he's away quite a lot of the time. And so so a lot of the time when he's away, and even when he's here, I try to incorporate some kind of a home practice for my yoga. So a lot of the time when my husband is away, my yoga practice equates to me just doing a couple of headstands and a couple of light stretches with my girls when they're going to bed as a bedtime routine. We do a bit of bedtime yoga. So that will be my daily practice. And I also but I make it so that every day I'm nourishing myself through really good food. I really enjoy the taste of a lot of raw food, so I'm really on board with raw food, although I do love cooking a meal sometimes. But I try to plan my meals the night before, because I find that if I don't plan my meals the night before, then I'm just eating on the go. A few crackers here, some carrot sticks here, cucumber, apple, whatever is there, basically that's easy. So I plan my meals the night before, and it's all about connection for me. So at the base of everything I do, it has to feel connected. And so for me, connection is around, firstly, myself. So doing those things, meditating daily, yoga, nourishing through good food choices for myself and enjoying my meal. But it's through connections that I have with my children, so spending time with them. It's also being really consciously aware of the time that I'm spending with friends, with my family, with my husband when he is in town. And making the most of that time there. So for me to find a balance, it started off really conscious, a conscious effort to try and strike that balance. And again, to be really honest, there's days when there is no balance. When I'm just in survival mode, when I'm having to do just, if my kids are not feeling well, if they're sick, or if I'm not feeling 100%, or if something big is going on, if I've bitten off more than I can chew in my life with my clients or with my commitments or what have you, then I've just got to, stay in survival mode, so to speak. But I still try to maintain at least a couple of those things so that I'm not falling totally off the bandwagon with what it is that I'm talking about. I'm still walking, what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. Oh. So that's a way that I try to stay in balance, even if it's just, moving my body. And some days, on those days, Aldwyn, when it's just about survival mode, even if it's just staying still for 1 minute and taking those deep breaths. So on those days, the way that I maintain my balance within myself and my inner connectedness is just taking those really deep breaths, taking a moment just for myself to collect my thoughts, just to take a big inhale, filling up my lungs, and then a full exhale. And doing that, as I said, over the course of a minute or two, and that's enough for those survival days.
They say count to 10, don't they? Is breathe in and count to 10 and then breathe out. Do you do it like that?
Well, I do a number of different breathing exercises, depending on how I'm feeling, and for whatever I need on that day. So what I generally try to do is on my inhale breath, I'll breathe in to say 6 or 8, and then on my exhale breath, I'll elongate that to 8 or 10, and then it gradually gets longer. So inhale breath is always shorter for me, and exhale breath is always longer. And I also, another thing that I do in those survival mode days is I do some chanting. So from when both of my girls were in my belly, when I was pregnant with both of them, I've been chanting. So I do a lot of chanting just to either disrupt, the vibe and to recreate a new vibe. So, create a new energy, a new vibe around what's happening. So I've been chanting quite a lot, and I do that most nights with my girls as well before we go to bed. We do that, and my girls will even, those survival days, I know I keep coming back to that, but on those survival days, my girls will even say to me, "Mama, we didn't do our OMs." And I'm like, okay, well, let's do them. And, there have been times when my girls have just started doing it themselves. Because again, when it goes back to that, we innately know what we need. As human beings, we innately know what we need. It's just we don't listen to ourselves. We're so caught up in the busyness of life, and trying to be that perfect person, and being so overwhelmed by these expectations that we put on ourselves that we don't take enough time to really listen to who we are, to that little voice. And that little voice is generally your higher voice, is when you're in your higher power, your true self, if you would, that comes through, and just it's like a slight little whisper that says, "Listen to me, you're not listening to me, feed me good food," or "breathe deeper," or "move your body," or whatever that little voice tells you. That's the voice that we generally don't listen to. We listen to the big loud voice that says, "Be here, do that, do more, you're not enough, that. And so it's really about listening to that little voice, and that's when you can really catch yourself and find that more of that inner connectedness as to what you should be doing at that particular time, or in general, or for that moment or experience in your life. So so chanting is a really powerful one for me as well, in achieving balance. Yeah.
And with meditation, do you use music with meditation?
So it depends on how I'm feeling, again, Aldwyn, and what's going on. So I prefer, my preference would be just to sit and focus on my breath, and then just be that silent observer of my thoughts that come in and out. Trying to wrangle in that monkey mind that so often presents him or herself a lot of the time, trying to meditate, and you're like, "Oh, get back there, go back there." And then it comes again 3 seconds later. But again, that's why it's called a meditation practice, not a meditation perfection. So it's about, getting that monkey mind to just be a little bit quieter, stop playing tricks or what have you. And then other times, more recently, I guess, I've been doing a couple of guided meditations just to break things up a little bit, because I was a little bit curious about guided meditations. I've been to a lot of workshops where they've had guided meditations, and I've loved it. I've fully immersed myself in the experience and really loved it, but didn't really take that away with me for my own personal meditation to do guided meditations. I listen to, I guess you could call it, meditative music every night. And again, when I put my daughters to bed, we listen most nights to the Gayatri mantra, which is this beautiful mantra that has been around for a long, thousands of years, a very powerful mantra in, again, helping to simplify, just create that really positive vibe, positive energy, and draw the light in. And it always helps to soothe my kids, and has been doing so for a long time. So yeah, most nights I listen to meditative music. And again, right throughout the day, for me, I don't think that meditation has to be something that is put within a square box where, oh, you meditate that way or you meditate that way. I think that meditation is open to interpretation. So you could be meditating, like I've had a walking meditation. I went to this gorgeous fire ceremony once at a weekend retreat, and they did this walking meditation, and that was just, initially it was a little bit like, oh, this is a bit strange, a bit different, a bit uncomfortable even. But then I just let it flow and went with it, and went, okay, let's be more open to this experience, and what is this going to bring about? And this walking meditation where you're connected with Mother Nature, so shoes off, putting your feet to the earth and walking as you meditate, but your eyes were open. So it was an open-eyed meditation. And that was different. So again, just getting back to that, there is no hard and fast or strict rules or box that meditation should live. It's open to interpretation, and whatever feels right for you on a soul level, on an intuitive level, on a gut level, if you would, And that's whatever meditation should be for you. So I'm a really big believer and advocate for that, Aldwyn, that meditation is whatever you make it, and also a really big believer in that if you have the intention to meditate, you are meditating. It's just, our human mind wants to put labels on things. And it's even so, as human beings, we want to talk about our experiences and around meditation. People want to say, oh, it's even with yoga and meditation. People want to say, even when I first started yoga, I know I'm chopping and changing channels, but I'll come back to the same point. When I first started yoga, or when I was like, oh my goodness, that teacher was amazing. And then other times I was like, I didn't really like that teacher, and that class was not great for me. And, it should have been this and it should have been that. And also with meditation, when I first started, I was like, oh, I fell asleep, I think I fell asleep in that meditation,
I can relate.
And my meditation teacher said to me, well, Kyah, it's okay. If you fall asleep, you must have needed it. And so, it is what it is, and it is what it isn't. So just surrender to that and go with it. And, when that opened up for me and I was able to see it that way, oh my goodness, it's like, then I was like, now I'm living. Now we're living, because it's easier when you look at it like that. You have less expectations on yourself, and therefore something just opens up, and it's a beautiful, beautiful space to be in. It's like you just feel like, oh my goodness, what's next? If there's no expectations on myself, if I don't have any restrictions or constrictions on myself rather, what's possible? Oh my goodness, girlfriend, I'm saying to myself, anything's possible. Like, anything's possible.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, that's the long-winded answer to your question, but it's all relative to what you've asked. So.
It is. That's excellent. Well, again, it's, letting go of that perfection that it has to look a certain way. So I've fallen asleep many times in meditation, and I decided at one point, I'm obviously no good at this meditation thing. Either that or I just need more sleep all the time.
Totally. Been there, tick, tick, tick.
And I've since heard that there's many different ways to do meditation, and it's okay. It's all right if you fall asleep. I'm sure subconsciously it still goes in there, whatever you need to get.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awesome. So we're talking about how to lead a balanced life. If you've just joined us, thank you for joining us. I can see we've got a few people on the live show right now. And we've been talking about meditation. We've been talking about being kind to yourself. And we've been talking about how to have balance when you've got children, and also when you're managing work as well. And we've talked about breath work. We've talked about different ways to do that. Now, essential oils we haven't talked about. How do you use essential oils in your life?
Okay, so essential oils, and my journey with essential oils, Aldwyn, if I can just say, started about 5 years ago. So just after the birth of my first daughter, and I was really. I got really present to the fact that I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't at all comfortable with having synthetic things in my home, chemicals, things that could harm my little baby that I've just created, made out of light and love, this little precious being. And so at that same time, so I think she was about 6 or 8 months old, I was introduced to a lady by the name of Sam, who's amazing. And she has been a mentor to me around my essential oil journey. She's a naturopath, homeopath, registered nurse, just a goddess, overall goddess. Anyhow, and she got me onto these oils. And so these oils that I use are certified pure therapeutic grade, which means that they're so pure that they can be taken internally. So a lot of the time you can use essential oils aromatically and even topically. But I don't really know of any oils apart from the oils that I use that can be used internally. So for me, I was drawn to these oils because of the fact that there's no synthetic content, and they're also as close to the purest form as possible. So they're all plant extracted. And so I have been using these oils for, as I said, 5 years, and I have replaced, I basically use the oils alongside my homeopathics for administering my family's health, so taking care and supporting my family's health and well-being and my own. So I use these oils for, I use them topically. So I have a day blend and a night blend that I make up for my daughters. I've got a blend for tummy bugs and viruses. I've got a blend as an insect repellent, for colds and flus, for anxiety, for fear, for teething. I had a blend made up. So you name it, the list goes on and on. and also my husband, who was all the other way. So he was all sort of science-based, fact-based, Western medicine-based, if you would. And I had to lead by example with him. And he come back from an overseas trip once, and he had a really sore throat. And I said to him, okay, you're not going to like it, but I'll, try this, try that. Anyhow, so he took a couple of the oils that I'd recommended. And with that, the next day I said, oh, honey, how's your throat? And he said, fine. My throat is fine. And so since then, he's also been using these essential oils. So I've seen the great power of these essential oils that I use when at work on so many different levels and for so many different things that present, even by way of supporting like moods, and emotions. So I'll give you an example for that. So my eldest daughter, when she started kindy, this is the first example that's coming to mind. When she first started kindy, I was a stay-at-home mum for 4 years with her, and so when she first went to kindy, that was her first experience being away from me. And so when she come back, it was her first or second day, she was just wired, and she was just hyperactive and like jumping around like a jumping bean. And I was like, oh my goodness, and just wasn't her usual self. And so I put some balance, which is a grounding blend, on the base of her feet. And within a matter of 30 seconds, she was just back to her usual self. So yeah, I use these oils therapeutically, medicinally, for emotional support, for overall well-being. I also use them for culinary purposes. So in my cooking, I made these amazing chocolate brownies, which I infused with peppermint oil. And then I make these other delicious treats called brookies, which is a mix between brownies and cookies, and I infuse them with cardamom and black pepper. So I use them for so many different things. I could keep talking about them forever.
Nice.
It feels.
So what about like lavender's meant to be very relaxing, right? So what are some oils that you would recommend? Like, so if people watching this right now, they might just have a few oils at home. Maybe they've got tea tree, maybe they've got eucalyptus, lavender. If they've just got a few of the basic, more well-known types of oils out there, how could they use those sorts of things to bring balance into their life? Sure.
Okay. So I'll talk about a fair few that I use quite regularly with clients. And so with regards to yoga, if I'm running working one-on-one with a client for yoga, I'll use lavender and balance. So as I mentioned previously, balance is a grounding blend that's already made up. It's really, as it suggests, it's a really grounding blend. So helping just to ground you, it's as it suggests. Lavender has so many uses. So lavender has a really calming effect on the body and the mind. So you can use lavender for a restful night's sleep, if you suffer from insomnia, even if you have a headache. And even I put that in my girls' nighttime blend because it just helps rather to bring down, so sort of bring them down to a more calmative state, I guess you would. And so that's a really beautiful oil for that. And when I think of lavender, it reminds me of, those lavender bags my nan or my mum used to put in my undie drawer as a kid. It's like, that's what it reminds me of. So whenever I smell lavender, I'm quite favorable to that smell because it reminds me of that. It takes me back to when I was a kid. And I'm sure that a lot of people watching can relate to that. So lavender is a really good one, and it can be used on multiple levels. I also use it in a blend for my daughters. My eldest daughter has asthma, so I use it in a blend for her. And again, that just helps to calm down her nervous system, respiratory system as well, which is really great. Another really good one is tea tree, or melaleuca, as it's also known as, and you can use that for a number of different purposes. But you can use tea tree for like antibacterial, antifungal even, and it's also good. I like the smell of it. It kind of again reminds me when I was a kid. So it's really good mixed with. Your lavender, beautiful together, and a bit of lemon in there as well. It's quite nice. Another oil that I use quite a lot is frankincense. So I make up a blend for myself, a meditative blend, or meditation blend that I use. But frankincense is a really beautiful one. And I know that a lot of people, when you speak about frankincense, it always goes in hand with frankincense and myrrh. So I think there's also a song about frankincense and myrrh or something. But it's back in, like ancient Egyptian times when Cleopatra used to use frankincense or myrrh or what have you. But frankincense is actually a really beautiful oil for opening up your third eye. So really great for meditation. And so frankincense and lavender are two of the oils that you can use neatly, which basically means you don't have to dilute them. So you can use them straight on your skin. So even if you have a bottle of frankincense and you just put it straight to your third eye, so in the middle of your forehead there, and you meditate with that, it's a beautiful thing. Frankincense is also really great for, you can have a couple of drops underneath your tongue for that. Helps on so many different levels. It's good for anti-aging, longevity, and just smells beautiful. So that's a really good one as well. The list goes on, Aldwyn. I could speak about each of the oils that I use, and for different things that present, I tend to gravitate towards, say, that particular oil for that particular time or experience or whatever I'm wanting to use it for. So yeah, but I find that generally speaking, I have, say, a set 5 oils that I tend to go to the most, and they would be the lavender, balance, frankincense. Would also be, there's an oil called Easy Air, or Breathe as it was known as, and that's a respiratory blend which helps to support. It helps to open up the lungs is the best way to describe it. And so I just love diffusing that most days, because I just love how big and open and fresh the air seems when I'm inhaling it. I just love that, and it just feels like it's invigorating my lungs at the same time and supporting my respiratory system as well. So I diffuse that, as well as orange and peppermint when I'm teaching a yoga class. If I'm wanting to create a really invigorating, refreshing type, revitalizing environment for that particular class, then those are the oils that I would diffuse. So peppermint, again, is really invigorating. And then you've got the orange. So any citrus oil is also really invigorating and great for the senses, and just beautiful. Overall gorgeous. Overall gorgeousness.
Fantastic. What has that got in it? What sort of oils? The balance.
Balance.
Yeah, balance. What oils are made up in that balance mix?
The only thing that comes to mind is wintergreen. And I don't know a lot about wintergreen on its own, but I do know a lot about balance in the uses that I've used it for. So I don't know a lot about each individual ingredient in that actual blend, Aldwyn, to be honest, but I do know that wintergreen is one of those in the mix, and I know the uses of balance as the blend of how to use that, if that makes sense.
Nice. Nice, beautiful. And food, you mentioned, is really important as well. We've mentioned organic foods, so oils. So really treating your body like a temple, really respecting, being kind to your body, nourishing your body. It's amazing how much we put our bodies through, actually, Kyah, and how much our bodies can handle, really, as well. We are amazing. I always say to people, the first race and the biggest race you ever won was by being born. In fact, we beat between 400 million and 1.2 billion swimmers to get to the finish line. So I kind of average it out to about 1 billion. About 1 billion swimmers to get to the finish line just by being born. So, it's amazing when you think we started from nothing, from, an idea, from an orgasmic moment with our parents, to become who we are today. And, so many things along the line there as well to get us to this point. So,
we forget that, you see. We really forget that. I mean, when you look at it that way, it's inconceivable to even think like that. Out of all of those swimmers, as you said, it was us that made it. Like, we made it. But yet we don't see that. Like, why is it so hard for us to see that and really honor ourselves and to only see the purity and the perfection in us? Like, I say to a lot of my clients, most of my clients, Aldwyn, you're made perfectly. Like, we are all made perfectly. And we're just human beings having a physical experience, but we somehow lose sight of who we really are. And who we really are is that one swimmer that, if you're putting it like that, we're that one swimmer that made it. Like, if you even think about that for like a millisecond, that is enough for anything else that ails you, that is heavy upon your shoulders, just to disappear. Yeah. And take a deep breath thinking about that and look at what presents. I mean, wow, that's a wow moment. We need to be having more wow moments in honoring ourselves and really understanding and having that connection, Aldwyn, in what that is. But I think a lot of the reason as to why we don't see that a lot of the time is because there's a disconnect between our mind, our body, our spirit. A lot of the time, we can go through life and just, we're all in the head. It's like, as I said earlier, we're all in the head about wanting to do this, expectations. Oh my goodness, I've got to be this person, that person, there's sometimes in life where you can just do lots of physical activity to try and numb whatever it is you're not thinking about or not feeling. So you can go all one way and just be totally and utterly in your physicality. And then there's, the flip side of that, where, you can meditate, for, 18 hours in a day, or, you know, like those ancient yogi masters and even Tibetan monks do. I don't know of the exact hours that they do it, but then there's the other side of that. You know, and that's all good and well, but who can sit and meditate, for 10 hours, 12 hours, 18, 24 hours in a day, or even 5 minutes in a day? You know, so there's a really big disconnect, I believe, between mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
And that's what I'm all about. Essentially, that's what I'm all about, is reconnecting those three things, and finding the balance for you, of what works for you holistically.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we are really ultra powerful as individuals, and it's amazing what we can achieve. You know, David Icke talks about stepping into your infinite consciousness, and if more people realized that they were infinite consciousness, imagine how different the world will be. However, you know, particularly in Australia, we have this thing called the glass ceiling and, you know, tall poppy syndrome, and, you know, people are not encouraged for stepping up and stepping out in the world and becoming the best versions of themselves. Generally in society, the way the world's run, we're not generally encouraged to be the best versions of ourselves, and in fact we're often put down when we do strive to move ahead in some way, or to achieve some great goals. You know, whereas in America it's a much more inclusive culture where they encourage people to become successful in America, whereas in Australia we tend not to be that way. People, you know, it's very much a middle class kind of mentality, you know, where people don't want to see you get ahead because it makes them feel insecure about where they're at, you know. So that's the thing, is also about your environment. You know, you want to hang out with people that are up for big things in life. You know, we actually met at a Landmark course. Landmark Education is a fantastic program. There's many programs out there that are really great, and you know, personal development is really big. And I think hanging out with a positive environment and a positive group of people who are going to also you know, have your back and really encourage you to be the best you can be, have that environment, is so important. How important has that been for you, Kyah?
Well, do you know what? I'm a big believer, Aldwyn, in like attracts like. So I really stand firm in whatever you're feeling about yourself and putting out to the world, the way you're presenting, that's exactly what you're going to get back. And so, you know, there's lots of sayings around your thoughts create your reality, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure we have all heard a lot of them, but I'm a really big believer in the fact that whatever you feel, wherever you are, whatever you're emitting, whatever you're putting out, you're getting a direct reflection of that back. So a lot of the time it's about the perspective that you take. Like if you take a perspective where you're feeling a little bit down and out or deflated, or, you know, paranoid, or worrying about what other people think too much, or this one's out to get me, whatever it is that you're thinking is what I'm saying, that's what you're going to get more of. So, and for me, like when I get really present to whenever I have felt that way in the past, and sure, I felt like that in the past, especially through my 20s, when I felt like that, it's really hard to get out of that way of thinking, or to that way of being, because really you're constricted by a whole heap of experiences and thought processes that have made you who you are up until that point, so to speak. So it's based on you know, the upbringing that you've had, the culture that you come from, the social circles that you're around, you know, different experiences, whether they be mostly traumatic or, you know, challenging experiences. It's a string of all of those things that have brought you to that point of who you are, what you stand for, the thoughts that make you, your perception on things, your perspective, if you would, on things. And so, as I said, it's all about what you put out, you get back. And so I'm really consciously aware of who, and this is not to sound arrogant at all, it's just I'm really consciously aware of holding my own space around that. And so if I feel that something is presenting to me that I'm uncomfortable about or confronted about, it's me who I first look at. I look at myself first and I think, okay, Kyah, what's going on here? Well, how are you feeling about this? And again, Aldwyn, like, it's really confronting and it's really uncomfortable, like heavily uncomfortable, to get to that point where you're looking at yourself and seeing something in yourself that you don't like. But for me, it's really important for my growth as a person and my place in this world to be responsible for what's going on around me, and not looking outwardly and going, gee whiz, you know what? She was a real bitch. Or he was, you know what? he made me feel this way, and I tell you what, you know, it's like laying blame and what have you. And that's not to say that I don't still do that, because yeah, sure I do, because I'm a human being. But what my point is, when I do feel like that, I'm really, really consciously aware of my thought pattern. And over the time and work that I've done within myself, I'm really able to turn that around and to see it differently. So I guess in short, who I have around me in my life, and particularly around my children, is really, really important to me. But if anything ever disrupts the flow of what I'm doing, or I feel uncomfortable about something, or something that I don't like it presents, I firstly check in with myself and see what it is in me that's going on. And then I look outward. And of course, you know, sometimes it's not all about, you know, what I'm projecting. Sometimes it's just not. Sometimes people or situations present themselves for you to just experience what it is you have to experience, and then you move on. So if it is a point where, you know, someone or something is in my life that I'm not comfortable with, it doesn't sit well with me on a soul level, with who I truly am, then I'm really great at holding my space around that and setting really firm, definitive boundaries around what that means. And also really open to creating new possibilities around that, you know, both for myself and for others. I even say to my children, Aldwyn, my little girls, I say to them, you know, if people in your life hurt you or upset you or make you angry, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, I'm so angry, you know, and kids, they're so beautiful, they're natural, so they just like lose their stuff all the time. And so I say to them, when situations like that happen, sometimes you just have to love people like that. They still need love. In fact, the people that do that or act that way or conduct themselves that way, they're the people who need love the most. And I really stand firm on that as well, Aldwyn. Like, those people and those situations and experiences, they're the ones, or they are the ones that need your most love. And so as much as I'm a believer and I love to love wholeheartedly, you know, in person and like with a direct connection, I'm also one to love from a distance. And I do that quite a lot. And I have done that quite a lot through my life, because if something doesn't serve you and resonate really well with you on a soul level, then you've got to be self-aware enough to know that and to be okay with moving forward, however which way that goes.
Well said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And that's so true. You know, there's quite a few things you mentioned there. You know, taking 100% responsibility for how you respond to any situation. If people are going to be nasty to you or are nasty to you, it says a lot more about them than it does about you. And often it's because people are threatened in some way, or they feel insecure, or something is happening for them to be nasty towards you.
Sure.
Often that's the case. There's a whole above the line, below the line thing that they teach in a lot of personal development seminars. A lot of people below the line, they play victim, they blame other
Sure.
people. Above the line, they take responsibility. It's as action. There's action above the line where you take steps towards possibility and responsibility, and some of these things are taught in Landmark as well.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it is very powerful when you can turn any situation, anything that comes your way, when you can turn it around and look for the positives in whatever comes your way. I think that is a great tip for people to learn how to have a balanced life, because no one can really make you angry. You know, it's
you have a choice.
You choosing. That's right. It's you choosing to be angry in that moment, and then it's a matter of, okay, when you notice yourself getting angry, what is it that you're really angry about? You know, what is it? Is it that you're making it mean something about you, that if someone's yelled at you, that you're making it mean that you're no good? Whereas really, if someone's yelling at you, well, they may have anger issues that may stem from something going on with them. I mean, that's the thing. And so having a positive environment is really, really important. And sending love to people. You know, you can't change people really at the end of the day. You know, you can't. I heard once, you can't change the world. You can only change your world, right? And so if everyone just changed their world, we could have
imagine the world we would live in.
Yes, just imagine, you know, imagine the world we could live in. If everyone just spoke their truth and became the best versions of themselves and lived their passions and did what they loved in life, because really, you know, life is so damn short at the end of the day. You never know when it's going to be over. So it really is important, you know, at any moment to do what you love. And if you're not doing what you love, then maybe you spend some time meditating on that, you know, spend some time alone.
Or really being kind to yourself, you know, being kind to yourself, being okay with that. Just being kind to yourself, honouring yourself in some way, shape or form. Yes. Yeah, and going within yourself and just thinking, well, if money wasn't an issue, what would I love to do?
That's often a good question I use when I'm looking for my purpose or what I'd love to do. So we've covered a lot of ground here, Kyah, and we could just keep on chatting. However, we do need to wrap up the show soon. Any other final tips on how to keep your life in balance?
Do you know what? For now, Aldwyn, I'm going to leave you with that, because I feel like we have covered quite a bit. And again, with what I do, it's really tailored towards each individual. So different things come up for different people at different times. So final tips: be kinder to yourself. You know, be kind to yourself. That should be my motto, actually, because I'm really feeling that quite strongly right now. Be kind to yourself, honor yourself, do what it is you love. Be kind to each other, you know. Just love. It's love all the way, the only way. That's another one of my mottos, Aldwyn. So I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, and my husband always says that sounds so cheesy. And it probably does, but you know, I get it from my mama.
Yeah, right. Love. Well, I love love. I'm a big lover, and I, you know, one of my big things is being kind to animals, and of course we are human animals, so we do need to be kind to ourselves as well, and really love ourselves. As a girlfriend always says to me, the love you are seeking is inside of you. So all the love you have to.
100%. I love that, Aldwyn.
Yeah,
I might use that one.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Yeah, the love you are seeking is inside of you. So all that love you have for others is also there for yourself. So remember to give some to yourself as well.
Keep some for yourself. That's important, because you know what? At the end of the day, Aldwyn, it has to start with you, right? If you don't love yourself, how can you love anyone else? Yes, and it's something that doesn't run out. You know, love doesn't run out. Love is expansive, and love is everywhere. Love is within, without. It's just whether we choose to see it or not. And it's infinite. And I think the more you light up and light other people up, the lighter the world will be. And it just becomes a ripple effect, you know, of lightness, of light and love. You know, I think, you know, we're all energy, aren't we? I mean, if you really get down to everything's energy. So if you can vibrate at a higher energy and a higher frequency, then you will attract more of that as well. You'll attract people at those higher frequencies, and you'll help lift up those that may be at lower frequencies as well. I think you know, you'll help to shift the world around you and help shift the bigger world as well by doing that. So how can people get in touch with you, Kyah? Okay, so people can get in touch with me through my website, which is www.everythinginbalance.com.au. They can also get in contact with me through my Instagram page, which is Everything in Balance, or they could call me. And my details are on my website for that. They can also email me. So my email address is Kyah so that's KYAH @everythinginbalance.com.au.
Beautiful, fantastic. And you have a special offer for our viewers. Could you tell them what that is, please?
I do have a special offer for your viewers, Aldwyn. So my offer is, drum roll please. I will give anyone who's watching this and contacts me a 1-hour free phone consultation for all of your viewers.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That is brilliant. 1-hour free phone consultation. So mention Truth Xpose TV to get that offer, and contact Kyah on all the ways she suggested there. So again, just quickly, how can they get in touch with you to take up that offer?
Okay, so again, you can email me at Kyah, KYAH @everythinginbalance.com.au. Go to my website, which is www.everythinginbalance.com.au. My Instagram page, which is Everything in Balance, or there is LinkedIn. Did I mention LinkedIn? People contact me through LinkedIn. Okay, so through LinkedIn, my name is Kyah, KYAH O'Connor, O''CONNOR.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, that was awesome.
That's a crescendo.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom with us, all about how to lead a balanced life. We've been chatting with Kyah O'Connor, if you've joined us, and she runs Everything in Balance in Brisbane. She's a multi-talented woman and also a mother of 2 gorgeous girls, and managing a family and business and doing it all in balance, and really fantastic to hear all those things. And, you know, they may sound like some simple strategies there on how to lead a balanced life, but how often do we do it? We may know this stuff, but how often do we actually do it? And so hopefully this show will encourage people to actually take on some of those tips of meditation, the oils, the eating well, etc., that we talked about, and lead a more balanced life. That would be absolutely.
Can I just say one more thing,
awesome.
Aldwyn, please?
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm always about, just say one more thing, please.
Sure.
Okay, so I forgot to mention that I also do corporate bookings. So I run wellness workshops. I run regular wellness workshops. So any corporate businesses out there that are wanting to do a wellness day for their staff, I can facilitate for up to, I mean, the sky's the limit with regards to numbers. So I tailor corporate bookings or corporate packages for wellness workshops as well. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes, brilliant, fantastic. So get in touch with Kyah if you like what you've seen, and that would be fantastic. Thank you so much again for joining us. If you've been joining us here for this show, or if you've missed it, you can always go back and watch the replay. If you like what you've seen, please like it publicly. Like it, comment on this video wherever you're watching it. Subscribe to the Aldwyn Altuney YouTube channel if you haven't already. Share the video, share the love, and remember to give some love to yourself. Yay. That's the motto here today on this show.
Thank you so much, Aldwyn. Thank you. Mwah.
Thanks, guys. It's been awesome. And mwah to you too, and to all of you who've joined us. Thank you so much. We'll be back soon with some more episodes, some more shows here at the Aldwyn Altuney channel and Truth Xpose TV. It is about speaking your truth too. So here's to speaking your truth, sharing the love, and being your own best friend as well, giving that love to yourself. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Aldwyn Altuney. Thank you, Kyah O'Connor. You rock. And we'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.